I personally think the Tenere is far superior to the 1290. You're going to be regretting it. You're going to be like, man, maybe I should have got that Tenere and just poured some money into it. Well, top of the morning to you. We are going to discuss why I got rid of the 1290. Man, this is hard because my 5 reasons on why I got rid of the 1290 are really close together, and they're really close together. I mean, I may as well just sit here and talk about it instead of trying to list them. But here we go. Number 1, perceived reliability. Okay, there's always something in the back of your head, the back of my head. It's a KTM. What little gremlin is going to pop up on this bike? I've already had water pump issues, which was covered under warranty. My wheel, I was 3 days out of warranty, and they didn't cover my front wheel, which the technician spent 4 hours trying to true the front rim up. Couldn't get it done, so there was that. I had a service light come on that cost me a little bit of money. Took it to the dealership. Cost me about $150 just for them to put it on there and tell me there's nothing wrong with your bike. We cleared the code, and then the mechanic told me, it's like, look, if it does it again, just leave the battery unplugged for 24 hours. So it came, that service light popped back up, disconnected for 24 hours, plugged it back in, code didn't come on. So right before I sold it, that code came back on, cleared it again, we're done. I didn't have any problems with it. Whereas this one, I can get on it and ride, and I know that it's going to get me where I want to go. And the likelihood, I know things have problems, but the likelihood is just not there with this bike. So, you know, just stuff happens. Shit happens. So it was kind of like a big weight being lifted off my shoulders whenever I got rid of that bike, just because you never know what the lifespan is of a KTM. It could be great. There are so many people that have really good luck with those bikes, and it's 50-50. It really is. And I didn't want to think about that being out in the middle of nowhere. So that's where the Tenere 700 trumps the KTM 1290 Super Adventure R. So rideability. Rideability, I could ride the 1290 all day. I have ridden this one all day. My longest day ride on this was 500 miles. And yes, I was tired, but who's not going to be tired after 500 miles of riding? So even after I put the big windshield on that bike, on the 1290, yeah, sure, I get more wind coverage, but I can ride it on the factory seat all day long. This one still has the factory seat. I have and can ride it all day long. I'm not into touring at the moment. And hell, as far as just leaving where I'm at in Texas, just to get out of Texas into New Mexico, one way is 750 miles, another way is close to 800 miles. So you're looking at 12 to 13 hours just to get out of freaking Texas. And I can do that on either one of these bikes. So the rideability, it's there. You can ride, I can ride this anywhere. I can ride the 1290, but I would be way more comfortable riding this off-road, through sand, through anything, than I would be on the 1290. Because the 1290, yes, when fully fueled, the 1290 is right about 520 pounds. This one is what, 460? Whenever it's fully we'll go with 470 since it's got a 6-gallon fuel tank on it, right? So it's still below that 500 mark. It's just less. Oh, no. I don't want the spider getting in my helmet. I don't think my skill level is where it needs to be to fully enjoy that 1290 like I do the Tenere 700. There, that's rideability. Now my riding habits. I like to be on the road just long enough to get off-road. And when I am on road, I like to enjoy some of the twisties and curvy roads. Now that I got the Cat Delete and the Tune on this bike, It is so much more lively, so much more playful. I'm telling you, a lot of people say, oh, it's not worth the gains. No, because from what I've seen, you don't gain a whole lot whenever you do the cat delete and the tune. You don't gain a whole lot on paper. You gain a tremendous amount in the playfulness, the responsiveness of this bike. It completely changes the characteristics. So off-road and hauling. The 1290 is meant to be ridden. Hauling that bike is almost embarrassing, right? So hauling this bike, you know, it's a lot of people think that it's not meant for long cruises. Well, yeah, like I said, I can ride this bike all day. And just loading and unloading this in the back of my truck, since I'm typically alone, I can load this in the back of my truck, no problem. It's not ideal, but it's definitely not as sketchy as loading up that 520 pound 1290. It's just less sketchy toting this bike around to wherever my starting point might be whenever I go for a ride. That's a little bit on my riding habits of why I got rid of the 1290 and kept the Tenere 700. So handling. Okay, handling. Now this is something that I've heard even people talk about on the 890s. So on the back roads and even on the twisty roads, it seems you have to ask the 1290 to turn. You have to ask it to turn in, and you have to demand that it stays into that turn, because once you turn it in, because of the low fuel tanks, just the way that, I don't know, it works, the geometry of that bike and the way it's set up, it wants to stand back up. It tracks straight. Great through sand. I mean, it really does great through sand and through whatever. It really does. The 1290 does handle great going straight. But I like the twisty roads. I like these gravel roads, where this one, with the weight being up top, yeah, we are still talking about handling. You give it a small amount of input and it sticks. It'll hit. You give it some gas, that you can slide the back end around and it'll come back around, and depending on your body language, it'll come back around and still stay in the turn, or it'll come back around and straighten up and go straight. Where as heavy as the 1290 is and the way the weight sits up front, it almost wants to come back around. It's just something that you have to feel. And this bike, whenever you put it into a turn and you're on the gravel roads, you don't have to fight it at all. There's really no thinking about it. It's just so much more enjoyable to ride on gravel roads than the 1290. Again, that's probably because of my skill level. I like to have more fun and do more sketchy shit, and the 1290 is just above my skill level. And again, it's more designed for touring, whereas this one is more designed for off-road. So as far as the handling goes, I prefer the Tenere 700 over the 1290 for my riding habits and what I like to do. There, that's handling. And now for the maintenance. Number 5, maintenance. Okay. You see that skid plate? 4 bolts. With my screw gun, my drill, whatever you want to call it, and my 10 millimeter, it takes me 30 seconds to take all 4 of them bolts out and drop the pan. Then an oil change, honestly, can take me less than 10 minutes. On the 1290, I got to remove the crash bars. Then I have to remove the 6 bolts, which the crash bars, that's 2 different sockets, actually 3. I need an 8 millimeter for the clamps. Then I need the Torx bit for the 2 fronts. And then I need, a 12 or 13 millimeter to take the crash bars off, okay? Then I have to use a different Torx head to take off the skid plate, which that's 6 bolts right there. And then you have 2 screen filters and your main filter, and then your drain plug. Whereas on this one, 4 bolts, drop the pan, you got your normal oil filter, and your oil drain bolt. Okay, that's it. So just simply changing oil on this bike is easier. Changing air filter on this one, you just pull the seat off, 4 screws. Change the air filter on the 1290 is actually fairly easy. You got to take the little cubby hole out that's right in front of your tanks. That's 4 bolts right there. Take that off. Then you got 4 other bolts that hold your plate on, and then you have access to your air filter. That's not that horrible. Changing out and changing out. But the little plastic things that they have, the little Rubik's Cube, I don't like that. I didn't like that at all. I didn't pay attention to how I took it out either. So yeah, that was fun getting that figured out. With some of the quality control issues on the 1290, right before a ride one time, I noticed I had another coolant leak. I got to shine the flashlight and I could see that hose clamp. It was leaking. It was leaking right out of there. So the hose clamps typically are loose. I ended up having to take all the plastics off, damn near remove the headlight, and then take the right side. It's actually a dual tank. It's not one big tank that sits on those bikes. It's a dual tank. So I had to take the right side tank off just so I could get to the hose clamp and twist it maybe 1 full turn. That was a son of a thing. Holy crap. So, or this right here, the clamps and the hoses, 1, you don't have problems with them. 2, they're right there. To take this off, to take your side panels off on this bike, was it 1, 2, it's 3 bolts and 3 clips on the front part, and then unplug your blinker light. It's easy. It takes less than 3 minutes to get that side panel off. If even you have to take it off to do anything. So, I mean, working on this bike, doing whatever you need to do with it is so much more simple. There's less plastics to deal with. So maintenance on the Tenere is so much easier than maintenance on the 1290 Super Adventure R. That is key. You know, working on a bike, especially if you need to do something the night before a ride. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do this before we ride. To sum it all up, to sum this video up, the Tenere for me is by far the better bike for what I like to do. I like to handle my own maintenance. It is a simple bike. There's less computers on it. That's why I personally don't care for the new 25 models, because they went to ride-by-wire. Now, I do like it because the cruise control edition would be nice. I'm sure Veridian is going to make a cruise control for the Tenere. Why wouldn't they? It's going to be a big seller because it's a big selling bike. But that's again, it's another personal thing. All around, other than being able to pop wheelies at will, I personally think the Tenere is far superior to the 1290. You know, horsepower aside, a lot of people will say, oh, but you got to buy a $10,000 bike. Well, luckily, I got this for $9,500. I put about $3,500 into it with the suspension rebuild and all the other modifications that I've done to this bike to get it to where it performs the way it does. Out of the box, of course, you know, you're paying a premium for your KTM, for your 890, you know, Adventure R, or your 1290, or whatever. You're paying a premium for that. And still, by the time I put all the money into this, I'm still not to the price of a 890 Adventure R. And I have the, you know, perceived reliability of this. And I say perceived because, like I said, you never know what your outcome will be whenever you buy a KTM. You have a good foundation to go off of whenever you buy a Tenere 700. You know that the longevity is going to be there, and you may have some gremlins here and there, which is expected. You know, everything's put together by humans. Everything's made by humans. The machines that do this are programmed by humans. But the QC on these are a lot better than the QC on a KTM. I don't know why. that's really gonna sum it up for this video. I hope this makes sense, and also hope that it helps you choose your next bike. You know, if you're thinking of going with the KTM, if you see a good deal on a KTM, personally, I would think twice. I really would. They are very fun bikes. The ergonomics on the KTMs, man, the suspension on them, you can, out of the box, you cannot beat it. I mean, you pay a premium for those bikes for a reason. So if you see a good deal on one, sure, grab it up. But the first time something stupid happens, you're going to be regretting it. You're going to be like, man, maybe I should have got that Tenere and just poured some money into it. That was the main reason why I never really did anything to the 1290. One, I didn't feel it needed anything done to it, you know, but I kind of had a feeling that it was going to go away. Kind of like my Multistrada. Anyways, hope that helps. We'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.